Welcome back to our exploration of fruit geography. In our previous journey, we discovered that most familiar fruits originated from just a handful of biodiverse regions around the world. This concentration shouldn't surprise us. The variety of native crops always correlates directly with an area's biodiversity, naturally making tropical regions the most abundant sources of unique and exotic fruits. The first civilizations to domesticate and cultivate fruit varieties emerged exactly where human civilization itself began, ancient Mesopotamia. Consequently, the fruits originating from this cradle of agriculture remain among the world's most beloved and widely consumed today. We've already explored apricots, cantaloupes, dates, figs, grapes, and pomegranates from this region, but today we're venturing into the fascinating world of lesser-known fruits that medieval traders, explorers, and scholars encountered along ancient spice routes. Medieval Europeans lived in a world where exotic fruits represented far more than mere food. They symbolized wealth, status, and connection to distant lands filled with mystery and wonder. Spices and exotic foods were so valuable that they drove the entire age of exploration, with European powers investing fortunes to find direct routes to spice-producing regions. Let's explore these remarkable fruits and discover how medieval societies encountered, used, and treasured them. African treasures, beyond the familiar three. While our first video highlighted only 3 African fruits, clementines, honeydew, and watermelons, this approach largely overlooked tropical Africa's incredible diversity. The continent harbors extraordinary fruits like tamarind, ackee, kiwano, and calabash, each carrying unique stories of cultivation, trade, and cultural significance. Tamarind, the misnamed Indian date. Tamarind is indigenous to tropical Africa but has been cultivated for so long on the Indian subcontinent that it's sometimes reported to be indigenous there. This remarkable fruit stands alone as the only species in its genus, making it incredibly unique and difficult to compare with any other fruit. The name tamarind reveals fascinating medieval trade dynamics. Arabic traders called it tamr al-hindi, literally meaning Indian date, because by the time Arab merchants encountered this fruit, it had already traveled extensively to India, where it became deeply integrated into local cuisine and culture. This misnaming demonstrates how medieval trade networks often obscured the true origins of exotic goods, with merchants deliberately maintaining mystery about their sources to protect valuable trade routes. Medieval spice merchants would create a sense of mystery by withholding the origins of their wares, and would ensure high prices by telling fantastic tales about fighting off fierce winged creatures to reach spices growing high on cliffs. India remains the world's leading tamarind producer today, continuing a tradition that began thousands of years ago when African seeds first traveled along ancient trading routes. In medieval times, tamarind reached European tables primarily through Arabic and Indian trade connections. Medieval physicians valued its medicinal properties, particularly for easing digestion, and it appeared in wealthy households' spice collections alongside precious cinnamon, nutmeg, and pepper. Ackee, the dangerous delicacy. Ackee presents one of nature's most intriguing warning systems. When unripe, these fruits might appear appealingly colorful, but they contain hypoglycin toxins that can cause the serious condition known as Jamaican vomiting sickness. Nature's solution is elegant. Wait for the fruit to yawn or smile, naturally opening to reveal its safe, edible interior while making seed removal easier. This fruit remained completely unknown to medieval Europeans, as it's native to West Africa and didn't reach the Caribbean until much later through the tragic Atlantic slave trade. Medieval European diets lacked many tropical fruits that we now consider essential to global cuisine. Kiwano, the ancient African cucumber. Kiwano might look familiar to many today, not because of its culinary importance, but because it frequently appears in questionable online advertisements claiming to be miraculous weight loss solutions. While kiwano certainly isn't a cure for being overweight, nothing single food is, It represents an interesting example of how ancient African fruits continue to find new markets in our modern, health-obsessed world. This spiky orange fruit with emerald green flesh has been cultivated in Africa for centuries, though it remained unknown to medieval European markets. Its distinctive appearance would certainly have fascinated medieval nobles, who prized exotic and unusual foods as symbols of their wealth and worldly connections. Calabash, the ultimate utility. Fruit calabash stands out as perhaps the most practical fruit from Africa. While technically edible, most people discovered its true value lay in its incredibly tough exterior shell. Once hollowed out, calabash fruits became versatile containers, earning the nickname bottle gourd. Medieval Europeans knew similar gourds, Lagenaria species, that originated in Africa and spread widely thanks to their buoyant seeds, which could remain viable after a year at sea. These gourds served countless purposes: bowls, utensils, pots, helmets, and numerous musical instruments. The hard-shelled gourd was actually the squash of medieval Europe, as the species now commonly referred to as squash or pumpkin, cucurbita, is indigenous to Central and South America and was unknown to medieval Europeans. Medieval monasteries and households utilized these versatile gourds extensively. The gourd appears in Charlemagne's 9th century Capitulaire de Villis, demonstrating its importance in imperial agricultural planning. Medieval craftsmen transformed them into drinking vessels, storage containers, and even early musical instruments that provided entertainment in castle halls and monastery courtyards. Mesoamerican innovations, the birthplace of botanical diversity. Mesoamerica's early civilizations achieved remarkable agricultural innovations that surpassed many other regions. The Maya and Aztec peoples didn't just cultivate single species, they developed entire genera of plants, creating unprecedented agricultural diversity. The Cucurbita Revolution. The earliest known domestication of cucurbita species occurred in Mexico around 8,000 years ago, some 4,000 years before the domestication of maize, corn. These early civilizations diversified wild cucurbits into 5 different species that we collectively call squash today. While we typically prepare and consume them as vegetables, their seed-bearing structure technically makes pumpkins, zucchini, and all related varieties of fruits from a botanical perspective. For indigenous Americans, pumpkins represented far more than food. They were regarded as incarnated goddesses who had descended from heaven alongside corn and beans. Archaeological evidence from Oaxaca, Mexico reveals that pumpkin cultivation extends back approximately 10,000 years, when Native Americans gathered small, bitter wild varieties primarily for their protein and oil-rich seeds. Medieval Europeans remained completely unaware of these remarkable plants until Spanish conquest brought them to the Old World. The first known European record of squash appeared in 1591, though they quickly became popular among European horticulturalists due to their ease of hybridization. The absence of these nutritious, easily stored foods represents one of the major limitations of medieval European agriculture. While European monasteries and estates cultivated impressive varieties of apples, pears, and other temperate fruits, they lacked the incredible diversity and nutritional benefits that Mesoamerican civilizations had developed over millennia. The capsicum legacy, fruits that burn. The capsicum genus represents another Mesoamerican agricultural triumph that fundamentally changed global cuisine. Most people call these fruits by different names: peppers, but bell peppers, chili peppers, jalapenos, cayenne, and habaneros are all technically fruits that happen to store capsaicin in their pith rather than sugar. This chemical evolution serves a brilliant purpose. Capsaicin deters mammals from eating the fruits while allowing birds to consume them without problem, enabling much better seed dispersal since birds can fly much farther than any mammal could travel. When Spanish explorers encountered these fiery fruits, Christopher Columbus called them peppers, perhaps to soothe his disappointment at not finding the valuable black peppercorns he sought, and the term Chile pepper persists to this day. This naming confusion illustrates how European expectations shaped their understanding of New World discoveries. Medieval European cuisine completely lacked the heat and complexity that capsicum fruits would later provide. Medieval spice combinations relied heavily on imported Asian spices like black pepper, ginger, cinnamon, and cloves, but nothing comparable to the diverse heat levels and flavors that chili peppers would eventually contribute to global cuisine. Sweet Mesoamerican treasures. Beyond squash and peppers, Mesoamerica offered numerous sweet fruits that we've already explored: avocados, guavas, and papayas. Additionally, the region produced mamoncillo, Spanish lime, tomatillos, pitaya, dragon fruit, and other exotic varieties. Mamoncillo presents an interesting eating challenge. You place the entire fruit in your mouth, position it with your tongue, scrape the flesh off with your bottom front teeth, and spit out the large seed. This complex eating process demonstrates how different cultures develop unique relationships with their native foods. Pitaya, or dragon fruit, showcases how cacti can produce remarkable fruits. The plant's exceptionally strange appearance inspired its English name, though its mild, refreshing taste contrasts dramatically with its fierce exterior. These fruits would have seemed absolutely magical to medieval Europeans, who associated exotic appearances with equally exotic properties and values. South American abundance. From Andes to Amazon. As we move from Mesoamerica into South America, we enter the realm of the Amazon rainforest and the towering Andes Mountains. While it might seem logical to attribute all upcoming fruits to the rainforest, the reality of agricultural development is more complex. Successful fruit domestication required not just wild varieties, but also stable human populations capable of selecting, breeding, and cultivating improved varieties over many generations. Andean innovations. The Inca agricultural legacy. The Inca civilization transformed wild Andean fruits into recognizable cultivated varieties through sophisticated agricultural techniques that rivaled anything developed in medieval Europe. They created extensive terraced farming systems, developed advanced irrigation methods, and maintained seed banks that preserved genetic diversity across their vast empire. While we've already discussed tomatoes in our previous video, the Inca domesticated numerous other fruits including physalis, closely related to, tomatillos and Cape gooseberries, golden berries. These fruits reveal similar internal structures to other members of the tomato family, demonstrating the interconnected nature of botanical relationships. Cape gooseberries, despite their misleading name, represent another tomato relative that the Inca successfully cultivated. Medieval Europeans would encounter these fruits much later through Spanish colonial connections, but they never became as significant in European diets as tomatoes eventually did. Pantanal treasures. Guarani agricultural wisdom. The Pantanal region, the world's largest tropical wetland, provided the Guarani people with unique opportunities for fruit cultivation along the banks of the Paraguay and Paraná rivers. Beyond pineapples and passion fruit, which we've previously explored, the Guarani developed one of South America's most remarkable fruits, guaraná. Guaraná represents one of Brazil's best-kept secrets, containing twice the caffeine concentration of coffee beans. This makes guaraná extremely popular in South American sodas and energy drinks, though it remained completely unknown to medieval Europeans. The seeds closely resemble acai berries and jabuticaba, both native to surrounding regions. The superfood deception, acai and marketing myths. Acai presents a perfect example of how modern marketing exploits our fascination with exotic foods. People have labeled acai a superfood when in reality these berries contain the same basic antioxidants and fiber as any other berry. This marketing strategy would have been entirely familiar to medieval spice merchants, who similarly created mystique and inflated prices through fantastic stories about their exotic goods. The health industry's exploitation of acai demonstrates how little our relationship with exotic foods has changed since medieval times. Then, as now, rarity and exotic origins commanded premium prices regardless of actual nutritional benefits. Asian abundance, the world's greatest fruit cultivator. Asia serves as the undisputed champion of global fruit cultivation, producing more varieties across more regions than any other continent. While numerous smaller hotspots exist throughout Asia, like Central Asia, where apples, pears, and peaches originated, The greatest concentrations of fruit diversity emerged from ancient Southeast Asian rainforests. Chinese innovations. Small fruits, big impact. South-central China through Vietnam developed remarkable small fruits that became staples throughout East Asia. Lychees, loquats, and longans represent similar-sized fruits that medieval European traders would have encountered through Silk Road connections, though they remained luxury items available only to the wealthiest nobles. China's larger contributions include mandarins and persimmons, both significantly bigger than the smaller fruits, but still modest compared to the giants found further south. Medieval European knowledge of Asian fruits came primarily through overland Silk Road routes and maritime connections through the Indian Ocean. Indonesian giants, the fruit titans. Indonesia, particularly peninsular Malaysia, Sumatra, and Borneo, produces some of the world's largest and most unusual fruits. Durian and jackfruit represent extremes of size and sensory impact that would have amazed medieval European traders. Durian's famously horrible odor has become legendary, with some places refusing to allow people to carry the fruit due to its overwhelming smell. This presents a fascinating contrast with medieval European attitudes towards strong odors. Medieval Europeans actually used strong-scented spices to combat foul smells, believing that pleasant aromas could prevent diseases. Indonesian islands also feature smaller exotic fruits like rambutan, pulasan, salak, and mangosteen. Rambutan and pulasan are closely related crazy cousins of the Chinese lychee and longan. Salak earned its English name, snake fruit, from its distinctive scaly appearance, similar to how dragon fruit got its dramatic moniker. The original citrus trinity. Perhaps Indonesia's most significant contribution to global fruit culture involves the original citrus ancestors. Despite citrus being one of the most popular fruit groups worldwide, the entire citrus family descends from just 3 original ancestors: the pomelo, the mandarin, and the citron. Different combinations of these 3 ancestral fruits produced all our beloved citrus varieties: oranges, blood oranges, tangerines, lemons, limes, and grapefruits. Even Buddha's hand, with its strange finger-like projections, is simply an unusual citron variety. This discovery revolutionized botanical understanding and demonstrated how medieval traders, despite lacking modern scientific knowledge, successfully distributed and cultivated the genetic foundation for entire fruit families across continents. Indian subcontinent, the crown jewel of fruit cultivation. India deserves special recognition not just for the citron, but for numerous other remarkable fruits, including jackfruit, the largest tree-grown fruit, jamun, wood apples, and Korean melons, despite the misleading name. However, India's greatest contribution to global fruit culture is undoubtedly the mango. The mango, king of fruits. The mango's significance in Indian culture cannot be overstated. India produces over 4 times as many mangoes as China, the second-largest producer, a remarkable achievement considering China's dominance in most other fruit categories. This extraordinary production level reflects not just favorable growing conditions, but deep cultural love and agricultural expertise developed over millennia. Interestingly, the most popular commercial mango variety, Tommy Atkins, was developed in Florida rather than India. This choice reflects shelf life and shipping considerations rather than superior taste, demonstrating how global commerce sometimes prioritizes practicality over flavor. American innovation. The new world of fruit development. The United States has contributed significantly to modern fruit development through both natural hybridization and deliberate breeding programs. The Loganberry, created in Santa Cruz, California by James Harvey Logan, resulted from crossing European blackberries with raspberries. This success led to further innovations like the boysenberry, developed by Rudolph Boysen through additional crosses with dewberries. Genetic engineering, the modern frontier. In 1992, the California-based company Calgene received approval for the very first genetically engineered food to reach consumer shelves, the Flavor Savor tomato. This development represents a completely new approach to fruit creation that medieval agricultural societies could never have imagined. While genetic modification raises ethical questions, it presents unprecedented possibilities for developing new fruit varieties with enhanced nutrition, extended shelf life, and resistance to diseases and climate challenges. Medieval spice networks, the foundation of fruit trade. Understanding. Medieval fruit cultivation requires examining the sophisticated trade networks that connected distant regions. The spice trade involved historical civilizations across Asia, Northeast Africa, and Europe, with maritime trade routes proving crucial for tremendous growth in commercial activities. Arab traders eventually took over conveying goods via the Levant and Venetian merchants to Europe until the rise of the Seljuk Turks in 1090, and later the Ottoman Turks controlled routes by 1453. These shifting power dynamics directly affected which exotic fruits reached European tables and at what prices. Medieval physicians valued spices and exotic foods not just for flavor, but for their supposed medicinal properties. Fruits like tamarind, pomegranates, and citrons appeared in medieval medical texts alongside precious spices, demonstrating how food and medicine intertwined in medieval thinking. Looking forward, the future of fruit cultivation. Today's global fruit trade represents the culmination of thousands of years of agricultural innovation, trade route development, and cultural exchange that began with those ancient Mesopotamian civilizations. We've inherited an incredible diversity of flavors, textures, and nutritional benefits that our medieval ancestors could barely imagine. Future fruit cultivation hotspots may depend less on local biodiversity and more on technological capabilities, genetic engineering expertise, and climate adaptation strategies. As global warming reshapes agricultural zones, we may witness entirely new patterns of fruit cultivation that would astonish both medieval farmers and modern agriculturalists. The story of lesser-known fruits reveals humanity's endless creativity in discovering, developing, and sharing the botanical treasures of our planet. From ancient African gourds to modern American hybrids, each fruit carries within it the accumulated wisdom of countless generations who recognized potential in wild plants and transformed them into the diverse, delicious varieties we enjoy today. Next time you encounter an exotic fruit in your local market, remember the incredible journey it represents, from ancient origins through medieval trade routes to modern global commerce. Each bite connects you to thousands of years of human agricultural innovation and cultural exchange that continue shaping our world today.